I think this software solve is something very unique which I seen first time in the country. I think we need to have a dedicated webinar on this, how this can solve the problems of electrical short circuit or shortcoming in the electrical installation. So we have almost good 23 questions, ladies and gentlemen. We will take almost 40 minutes to answer. I'll take the question answer for 40 minutes. So those who have not put the question, try and put only one question, because I could see same person putting multiple questions. So I try and avoid putting multiple questions. So we will take the question answer, and I appreciate Mr. Ashish Sharma's patience being waiting to take up the question answer from people. And let's move forward straight away to the question answer. First question is from Narsingha Rao Pujari. He's asking, sir, in a hospital or in a high-rise building having HT supply, if the transformer yard is far away located from the load center, to satisfy the conditions of TNS earthing system, is it required to run the proactive conductor up to the transformer, or the armored cable is sufficient? If it is connected to earth, both ends, please clarify. I don't know whether earth or each.
Yes, actually this is not included in foreign countries. Of course, the armoring can be used as a protective conductor, whereas in India, so far it is not included because due to some the old things which is followed. Probably in future, yes. Otherwise, armoring, technically there is no problem in using the armoring as a fault return path to the neutral of the transformer, but until now this is not recognized. So we need to have a separate either a conductor or a strip for the fault return.
Moving forward, sir, Puneet Agarwal is asking, I think Mr. Ashish Sharma can answer, how diluting our statutory provisions for electrical safety are resulting in fire accident?
Well, diluting anything is going to be a problem. I think we in fact, so far as fire service is concerned, they are not really expert, because every building, there is a separate electrical inspector who are giving NOC from those facilities. I mean, they are to be seen, they are to be checked, as Mr. Gopakumar has mentioned, so many checkpoints are there. So in fact, that is very much necessary. And the only thing was that Mr. Gopakumar was mentioning that thermal imaging equipment and all that. In fact, we as a fire person were not really that much conversant with the rules, regulation, and what to check and how to check and how many points. So apparently, because this was the equipment available with the fire services, normally to look for the locating the seat of fire in a smoke-filled area, and maybe locating the people trapped in the smoke conditions. So probably that was something available with us, and we in fact started. I was one of them. The person who was trying to propagate, say, if we are not having that inspection on testing and thatting possible, then probably this was the easiest way to have something. It may be apart from the 10 points or 16 points, that's a different issue. But yes, we thought it is something better than nothing. So, but whatever Mr. Gopakumar says, that is very essential, because the basics things are not provided as per the requirement. Then probably having something superfluous may not be giving that sort of output. That's right.
So moving to Anil Sharma, apart from detection and firefighting, won't you recommend the design of fault level be made mandatory along with the periodicity of electrical audit by TPI, of course, except government agency? As informed, the major culprit in electrical fire is the power supply. Why these power supply companies are not held liable? So, Gopakumar.
This is actually, sir, very, this has got a lot of legal implications as well. There were a lot of cases going on in several high courts. Let us say, for example, Kerala High Court. There was a case going on where the supply company, they have written that for high voltage, extra high voltage, we provide all the safety measures, whereas for low voltage, these safety measures are not possible. Which is, of course, they themselves indicate that these are not possible, which is wrong. The safety measures are very much possible. Only thing is you have to spend a little bit money and implement it. So if you look only into the profits and revenue, and if you don't want to spend money, of course you violate all those things. And making this TNCS system, it's not an expensive thing. You need a wire which is probably 5-inch wire. A small piece of wire, 5 rupees or 10 rupees is the additional cost which is going to incur. It is actually more than money. It is the knowledge, I would say.
Yeah.
So,
Sir, Indumati is asking, as a consumer, how to identify class 5 and class 2 copper conductor?
I think this is written in the cover of the packing cover of the manufacturer.
Okay, I think most of the answers also typed by Mr. Harish Sharma. However, I'll take this Shakti Prasad. What is the reason not tripping MCB or MCCB or MCB during fire in circuit equipment for avoiding what to do? Why it's not tripping, even though not tripping the MCB or MCCB, sir?
Sir,
Well,
Sharma,
I think he must be saying that he has provided the MCCB, but still not tripping.
yeah. Shall I reply, sir?
Okay, you can go ahead.
Yeah. Actually, the providing a protective device doesn't mean that it will trip during a problem. You have to appropriately rate it. For example, mostly what we see is you have a requirement of, let us say, 10 amperes, and sometime the electrical person will say, tomorrow my requirement will become 25 amperes. So let me put a 63 amps MCB. Actual requirement is 10 ampere. Only for a circuit of 10 ampere, an MCB of a little bit higher, probably 16 amps is able to protect you. But rather than 16 amps, if you put a 63 amps MCB, and if your wire is rated for 10 ampere or 16 amperes, of course, it won't give any protection. So not only the protective device, appropriate rating is also very much important. So the next question, sir.
So Sandil Kumar is asking, like CU and AI, should the standard mention appropriate cross-section for a particular current for a class 2 or class 5 CU2, sir?
No, it is not like that. Especially for the final circuits, we are supposed to use copper wire. I think up to 10 square mm copper wire is flexible conduits. Flexible wires, copper wires are necessary. The size of line, neutral and earth wire up to 16 square mm shall be same. Number 3, these final circuit wires we will be pulling through a conduit. Sometimes the length of the conduit is, or sometimes the length of the wire is 5 meter. Probably in another case the length is 50 meter. So once when the length increases, due to the resistance, increase the resistance, voltage drop will be more. Once when the voltage drop is more, heat accumulated inside the conduit will become more. Now, instead of 2 wires, if you put 4 wires, the amount of heat will be much higher. So technically speaking, the manufacturer will give you some rating of the wire, let us say 10 amperes. But depending upon your application, you are supposed to derate it. Derating factor sometimes is 50%. You cannot use a typical wire for 10 amps always. Sometimes the same wire you should consider only rated for 5 amperes. So it depends on the installation. That is why the calculations, you can look at clause 5.2 or clause number 5.5.2 of IS732, which consists of, I think, totally 74 pages, where all the explanations are given in detail.
Sir, Prabhash Parida is asking, good morning, what is the range of medium voltage panel? Though NBC is mentioned that MV panels should be installed with automatic fire suppression, does any other regulated body mandate the same?
Is it to me?
Yes, I don't know.
Okay.
Other than NBC, any other regulatory bodies making the same, I think?
I don't think that this is mentioned only in the NBC at the moment, not in the electrical standards of the National Electrical Code and all. Do not address this issue.
Ajay Kumar, I think this question you already answered in the PPT. However, it says, Gopal sir, can you explain about the fundamental test? I think that 19 test or
Yes, we have to have a separate session for that. Probably 2 sessions.
I think one you have to do about solve again the mandatory test. I think if we can do that dedicated seminar only on that in 19 test and explaining, I think a lot of awareness can be created.
Yeah.
Okay. Deep Chand Thakur, can PAT be explained in detail?
Yeah, this is also, we will try to explain it probably next time.
I think, yeah, again, the same question was asked earlier also. Sandeep Sharma, which type electrical earthing required at building area?
See, if you have your own transformer, then we are supposed to have either TNS or TNCS. Basically, inside your building, TNS, not TT. TNS is the correct way. So that's all. That is the answer.
Okay, Supriya Kumari, sir, is GFCI used in installation? How important is it? She's asking your views on this.
Actually, GFCI is a word used in America, ground fault circuit interrupter.
Okay.
In India, these are called as RCCB, residual current circuit breaker. Actually, we should understand that there is a electric war always between the eastern part of Atlantic and the western part of Atlantic. So the European standards comes in one way, or the definitions are in one way, and the Americans are a little bit different. The same device in India we call as a residual current device or RCCB, and they call this as a little bit different. A combination of RCCB and MCB is called as RCBO. Somebody also asked that particular.
Can we use RCBO? I think
yes,
that is the answer. But
yes, basically GFCI in America, their National Electrical Code, which is little bit different, which asks something extras, where they have included their wording. One of the wording which is always confusing us is earthing and grounding. In India and the IEC standards use the word earthing, whereas in America they use the word grounding. It's only the words. There is nothing different.
Okay. Sir, Sasidhar Krishna is asking, can you please explain some more in 300 milliamps fire protection?
Yeah, actually, for fixed part of the installation, that means imagine you have some kind of machinery or a motor or some kind of, not a portable appliance, a fixed part. This part, due to some reason, it can ignite fire, probably due to an earth fault, due to some leakage. Inside there is some leakage happening and it can ignite a fire. Now, here the concept applied is an earth fault or an earth leakage. In fact, earth leakage more than 60 watts could ignite fire. Now, 60 watts calculated at 230 volt is approximately equal to 300 milliampere. So the set value is made as 300 milliampere. These are, agreements made in the IEC. More than 300 milliampere is not allowed for fire protection. So basically 60 watts is the threshold.
Okay. Sandeep Parmarida, how many resistance pass through human body?
Oh, I think there is a problem in the question. Resistance don't pass through the human body. Only current flows through the human body. Resistance of the human body is calculated as 1000 ohms in dry condition for a person with normal height and weight.
Sir, this is a little bit longer question by Pramod Dwivedi, but I'll try to read for the purpose of the audience here. In my premises, electrical distributing by delta star transformer 11 kV to 230 volt, three-phase supply without using neutral. As a result, we are using only two-phase everywhere to use 220 volt by 2 live wire to operate light and machine. Please confirm by one single phase switch how can we protect the electric shock if any leakage happens, because both the phase is a live wire. Earthing is available everywhere.
Oh, actually, this is well, first of all, I'm surprised to see that this kind of an installation still exists in India. Instead of a single phase and neutral, two phases. I remember during 1998 and 97, during the initial days when we were supplying a protective device called SPDs, surge protection devices, to areas, some of the states in the northern part of India. Small scale industries, they used to buy the device and they used to connect it, and there were a lot of failures. Later we found that instead of neutral, they use a phase, because during daytime, voltage is only 90 volt instead of 230. So instead of neutral, they connect in the place of neutral, they connect a phase. As a result, they could get approximately 200 volt and operate their equipment. But the problem is during night, once when everybody switches off the power, the 90 volt comes back to 230. So at that time, 220, which is connected during daytime, becomes 400. The equipment starts burning. SPDs were starting burning. But of course, this is, I don't think that an electricity supply company will give you or will recommend in this way. If you are using that, actually, this is wrong. Please don't do it. Now, with respect to safety part, if you have connected two phases to your equipment, isolation of one phase is enough to protect that particular equipment. I am not talking about the shock protection. I am talking about the fire protection of that particular equipment. Isolation of one of the phases is enough. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Abdul Zalam is asking, please explain more about AFDD. Sorry.
Yes, AFDD is a protective device. The full form is arc flash detection device. What it does is, in case of any loose contacts, of course, there will be arcing, which will change the wave shape, and that particular device actually disconnects. But don't ask me how it disconnects, because I don't know what kind of sensing mechanisms are used inside to disconnect, but simple, it disconnects. MCB and RCCB, we know how it operates, but AFDD is still unknown to me. But of course, there is a standard available. Indian standards are already published. All the leading manufacturers, such as the global players like Eaton, Schneider, ABB, Legrand, and all of them have got this device.
So there's a question, but name is not mentioned. For underground installation, any BD requirement like substation or any such installation?
I don't understand the question.
Okay, let's dismiss this, sir, because there's no specific name for that. Senil Kumar again is asking, in the slide where power for ignition is discussed, my understanding from the explanation is that a fire ignition can be avoided if the fault can be contained within 3 seconds for load within 15 kilowatt and within 5 seconds for 15 to 100 kilowatt. But ideally, it has to be lower time for higher load, isn't it? Kindly clarify.
Actually, it is not kilowatt, it is watts. 15 watts, less than 15 watts cannot ignite a fire. 15 watts to 100 watts, if some flammable things are nearby, of course, it can ignite a fire. So number one, this kilowatt is wrong. Watts is the correct way. And now, if for any fault, let us say 4 kilowatt or 5 kilowatt, if this is stopped within 3 seconds, the chance of fire is negligible. If it is stopped within 5 seconds, of course, the chance of fire still exists. But if some flammable things are nearby, then only, the word used is flammable, or it can ignite fire only under certain conditions. These conditions are if something is nearby which catches or which spreads the fire easily.
Sir, question from Dr. Rakesh Chaturvedi, who is quite regular to our various webinars and also a friend of all of us, is asking, what are the tests required to identify the root cause of fire is electrical short circuit? So what are the root causes? How do you identify?
Yeah, sir, basically the inspection and testing, which I told you, 16 inspection points and 10 tests. At the beginning of the electrical installation, that means you have a new house or an industry, Once when you put this service, put this new installation into service, you are supposed to do all the inspection and test. Periodically, probably you don't need to do all the tests. But if these tests are carried out properly, of course, electrical safety can be found out. You can very well ensure that the fire due to short circuit are completely avoided. Not one test, I would say all the tests are mandatory.
So immediately the 16 test is something that everybody should do. So there is a lack, last time you said, the lack of awareness on this 16 test. Even
Yes.
the 10 test that last time you were mentioning, there's a lack of awareness about the 10 test.
Yeah. Actually, what happens, I was just going through some of the test reports or some of the electrical safety audits made by some international companies in a medical industry, not in a hospital, but in a pharma industry, explosive area. The conventional way of electrical safety audit is to, number one, test the earth electrode resistance. Actually, the earth electrode resistance has been removed from the 10 tests long back. We still do the earth electrode resistance test, which is of course of no use with respect to safety. Other than these tests, what other tests are carried out is most of the installation, whether the rubber mat is there, PPEs are there, signboards are there, danger boards are there, all these things are only inspected. Then the conclusion is 20 more earth electrodes are required and 30 more RCCBs are required. This is the conclusion of the electrical safety audit, which is actually, this is not made as per the standard. This is made on somebody's idea. Now, regarding the PPEs and signboards and all these things, as I said, there are 16 inspection points. One of the inspection point is all these things together, like drawings, PPEs, signboards, signages, and all these things are coming under one. So what about the balance 15 inspection points? And as I said, 10 tests, earth electrode resistance is not there. So what about these tests? So probably, the knowledge is quite, we have to improve a lot. Over to you, Mr. Dominic.
So improve a lot on the knowledge. Yes, of course. This is a third session. So we'll be having another third or fourth session. By then, end of this whole webinar session, that for the entire year, I think our knowledge will also equally improve upon. So Supriya Kumar is asking, earthing in UPS, practical issues, your views.
Earthing in UPS, practical issue. There is no practical issue. I don't know what the meaning of the question is. The practice which is followed in the industry, neutral of the UPS is connected to a separate earth electrode in soil. That is wrong. You are supposed to connect it to the same earth bus bar at the incoming. That means the protective conductor. You are supposed to earth to the protective conductor, not to the separate earth pit. Over to you.
Abdul Zalam, once again, can RCCB provide in UPS output used in IT installation? Normally, this is another cause of fire.
Yes, of course. The problem is in a lot of places we use three-phase UPS without with the common neutral, and on the output side, electrical isolation is not made. Technically speaking, if you have single-phase load connected to a three-phase UPS, we are supposed to have a galvanic isolation. That means we are supposed to have an isolation transformer at the output of the UPS or somewhere in the UPS.
There's a question for Mr. Ashish Sharma. I think you can compliment Mr. Kumar. Mani Maran is asking, what type of cable is recommended for fire and life safety system? Fire survive cable or armored FRLS cable?
Well, the thing is, all these cables which you're talking about, they normally pass through the cable shafts, or that's how it is there. They are protected in that sense. Only there we talk about the maybe the cables which are there for the fire alarm systems, or which are supplying power to the essential facilities. They need to be the FRLS means. FRLS is to the extent it's useful that if there is a fire, it will give less smoke. It will be fire retardant to that extent and gives less smoke. But if it's a otherwise protected with armored and all that, then that's a added protection from probably damage and all that. So probably it doesn't differ. I don't find much this thing from our side. Our requirement is just the systems which are there, which come in operation during a fire condition, they should be able to operate if there is a fire condition in that area. So they are not affected by that. So to that extent, we go into that, but really going into the which one is better, which one is not, I am not really competent. Mr. Gopakumar may say that whether it is a armored cable is better or FRLS cables are better. Just so as to, I mean, withstand in case there is a fire, and the thing should be, all the equipment which are required to function should be able to operate with these conditions.
As per the NBC, what they recommend is the fire survey cable to be recommended to use from the power supply, the 220 volt supply to the control panel.
Yeah.
And on the rest of the shaft and all that, either armored or FRLS cable. So this is what I understand. Over to Gopakumar.
Yeah, actually, I would like to correct it. It is not only fire survival cable, complete fire survival installation, including cables, including screws, including fixing materials. Otherwise, fire, cable will survive, but if the cable falls down, then so the whole thing is required. Light fittings, emergency lights, and all those things are required. So it is called as fire survival installation, not wire.
Not wire only.
Sir, Dheeraj Hulal is asking two questions. One is it mandatory to install smoke detector in electrical panel rooms? And second question is, IS 1646 is also relevant code. So over to Mr. Ashish Sharma. Is it mandatory to use smoke detector in electrical panel rooms?
Yeah, naturally. See, the thing is, in fact, this IS 3034, this installation of fire safe electrical safety, there it is, things are there. And probably, if you are, practically speaking, if you are having a manned premises, then it may not be necessary in that sense, but it may be unmanned at times. So providing this, the fire alarm system, whatever it is, smoke again, earlier, again, which type of protection you are having, which type of cables are there, probably whether it is a ionization or other type that is there. So optical type, I mean, requirement of that will be there. But yes, smoke, because whenever there is electrical fire, smoke is bound to be there. So if detection system is provided, that alone may give you an alarm. Yes, something has happened. But then again, for firefighting, again, we have to do something needs to be provided. And normally these things are connected. And for the automatic firefighting, if it is there, then we need not only the smoke, we need heat also together with this, because it's not working on a single sort of system. It's a dual alarm which should operate all those things. So that is the requirement, depending upon the wherever things are required to be protected.
Yes. Sir, it is recommended to use, in my opinion, with my experience, the tubing system, is what is recommended in the electrical panel. So whenever there's a certain degree of temperature, so the tube ruptures and the suppression happens. So
that's
this system is what recommended in place of smoke detector.
No, that's when we talk about detection. Since his question was for detection, but we see on the fire fighting or fire suppression, what you said is perfectly right, because it will not only detect, it will also suppress the fire within that panel. So this is being used nowadays quite a lot. And yes, that's okay.
Sir, I'll move on to the very interesting question. Vinay Nagdio is asking, what should be the qualification of an electrical safety auditor? Nowadays, everybody is an auditor.
Mr. Vinay,
is any standard, any code for who should be qualified to called as a electrical safety auditor?
Yeah, sir, the regulation 5A of the Central Electricity Safety Regulation recommends that the state government should authorize the people. So it's a subject of the electrical inspectorate of the state government to qualify, but that is with respect to the mandatory testing. But with respect to the actual testing, of course, we know sometimes the electrical, I don't want to make a comment, but still electrical contractors there are electrical contractors, those who are, they don't look into the drawing, they only do signing. So the safety auditors, if this kind of, safety auditors comes into picture, then that will be a risky thing. We have to be careful. Of course, a person who is knowledgeable in the standards and codes and practices has to become the safety engineer.
Okay, I'll take best 3 questions because we are nearing 104, 105. So I'll take 3 questions. Subhash is asking what is the cost of the solve. So what we do is we're going to answer to all these questions. So we have your details here, Subhash P. So Mr. Gopakumar will revert back to you individually for this. And this software again on Solve, we will be doing a presentation how it's going to help the whole industry and the nation especially. And we are not answering to any of this question. Rest assured, Mr. Gopakumar personally will come back to you, will write to you with an answer. However, I'll pick 3 questions which is below this. Sharma is something. My name is popped up, so I'm just reading. Mr. Dominican Sharma told chances of electrical shock as electricity is alive in some cases, which is dangerous, risky. So no, I'll skip. We know B, whether we can go for a wire with copper or aluminum for 3-phase power supply, especially the domestic area or to the industrial area. Question to Gopakumar.
Whether we can go with copper
or aluminum for 3-phase power supply.
I don't know what he meant, whether the power supply connected from the transformer into the house or within the house. Within the house, of course, copper. Probably from the transformer up to the house, if the sizes are higher, you can go for aluminum.
Okay. James Cody Thomas, let them install the sensing CTs both for phases. So this I think you can answer. Amit Kumar, how to investigate that any fire incident occurred due to electrical short circuit, sir? As you have done a lot of 45 years, Ashish Sharma ji, how do you investigate?
Well, which is a really difficult job, really difficult job, because normally when there is a fire, almost everything is burnt into that, all the evidences and how things went on, all that. But well, it depends. Still, it is feasible. Then we need to involve the forensic people in that, because normally fire brigade people, they are not having that expertise. So in cases where something like that happens, we normally take help from the forensic department. And normally this is done only in cases where some deaths have taken place. Some people have died during a fire incident. The cause of fire and other things are investigated. But normally the fire services in the most of the state fire services, we do not have a really that sort of expertise to really do that, and nor they are mandated. In some of the state acts, they say that they will be able to, they should be investigating into the cause of fire. But as of, so far as I know, we are not really going into that in details to that extent, because we don't have facilities. It needs a very highly expertised technical people and equipment and facilities knowledge as well. So that's there as it stands now.
So Shweta, I could say this time there are a lot of ladies have participated. So I'll take this Shweta Kare. For control cables, do we use PVC or XLPE insulation, and why?
For control cable, do we use PVC or XLPE?
Yeah, XLPE.
PVC cable, with respect to safety, the requirement is the temperature has to be limited in normal condition to less than 70 degrees centigrade, whereas in XLPE it can go up to 90 degrees. So this has something to do with the temperature classification of the wire, plus the insulation behaviors are higher in case of an XLPE cable. But control cable PVC or XLPE, most of the time for industrial purposes, XLPE is used. PVC is not much used. This is what I have seen.
So the last question for the day, Saurabh JJ, what to do when earthing of homes not getting in industrial area due to poor soil condition, even though plenty of water giving to earth pits?
So this is always, a subject of big debate. This earth pit has nothing to do with safety. As I told, the 10 tests, earth pit, earth electrode resistance measurement has been already removed. So earth electrode resistance, of course, is required only for lightning protection point of view. But nowadays, modern buildings have foundation earthing or foundation, the systems which is incorporating the structural steel, where the earth electrode resistance is again not an important subject. But if you ask, you have a standalone equipment, some kind of electronic equipment, and you try to make 1 ohm resistance, this has nothing to do with safety or the reliability of the system. It's a simple misinterpretation. You don't require an earth electrode of 1 ohm anywhere. It's a misinterpretation. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharma ji. Thank you, Gopakumar ji. And this is very, very informative. And I could see, the companies, a lot of multinational, like we have Adani's and Reliance, and a lot of electrical inspectors participated, and there are a few multinational companies also participated. I think this is a knowledge session that we've been doing in most of these Saturdays. Soon we'll have another session on the necessary test. It could be 10 tests or 16 tests. We will do that eye-opening webinar and followed by Sol. So we will continue to come forward with the educational program, and all the participants I'm requesting, please invite your friends and contact, because these are the programs that can develop our nation, move to the next level. So as Mr. Gopakam was saying, we don't even follow one standard of the international code. Okay, so let's start beginning to understand what are the necessary tests that we must conduct to be safe in a building. So I want to thank everyone for participating. As I said, Mr. Gopakumar email IDs continuously we have been putting in the chat box. If you're not posted your question, you can always get back to him on his mail. And Mr. Sharmaji's mail ID also has been posted here. So those who want related to a fire, they can always get back to Mr. Sharmaji's mail. And we'll come back again soon. We'll declare the next webinar by Tuesday or Wednesday. The recording, the PPT and the recording will be shared by Tuesday to all the participants who are registered. You will get it on your mail. So please check your mail either on Tuesday or Wednesday. We'll get back to you. And thank you so much. We had a wonderful session, and the question answer, we couldn't take much, but however, you'll be answered personally by Mr. Gopakumar. Thank you. Have a wonderful day. Have a safe day. Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Mr. Dominic. Thank you, Sharma ji. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye, sir.
Thanks for the support. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Bye-bye.